All right. I wanted to I have some time. I wanted to speak on some stuff. We have some things that we look at in regards to the pattern drivers upstream from North America, and how they influence things downstream from, we'll say, from the Pacific to the North Pacific to the West Coast, and then to the continue the lower 48, and how that and our region and how it affects our weather. There's the Southern Oscillation Index, to the MJO, to, I would say, North Pacific Teleconnections, to North American Teleconnections, to the North Atlantic, and then in regards to the North Atlantic Oscillation, the Greenland blocking aspect of things. What we're seeing in the MJO, in how it's propagating in relation to what the Southern Oscillation is doing, Southern Oscillation Index is doing, in regards to how it's fluctuating, where the pressures between Darwin, Australia, and Tahiti are concerned. There's little nuances about that activity that, aside from what we would typically like to see its state be, there's some nuances in regards to its movement that still have impacts on the MJO. And I think with what I believe is we're moving out of a weak La Nina and towards a more cool, neutral ENSO state in regards to La Nina, El Nino. The MJO, the Australian Access S2 MJO plot is looking really, really good. We're going to see, I think we're going to see a week run into phase 6, which is typically a warm phase this time of year. But if there's cold air seeded into the pattern, and it's in place like we currently have, if we're in the null phase of 6 or 5, that cold air will push. It won't be intense. I mean, compared to seasonal averages, we are below normal. I think as we get the European Extended MJO plot and the Australian XSS2 ensemble is moving us into phase 6. European Extended a little more amped into phase 6. Access not so much. Access gets us into a weekly amped side of phase 6, and then we move into phase 7 around December 4th. The European Extended is more around the 6th, 7th that it gets into phase 7. But that still falls in that 5th, 6th time frame for this late weekend, early like Sunday, Monday storm that is possibly in play here. There's currently a signal, not quite on board with that yet, but I'm close. And then we have the 8th to the 10th time frame in regards to storm signals, and I don't want to. There's one more signal in that period, And beyond that, I don't want to address anymore. I think I may have touched on some beyond the 8th, 10th, but this 5th, 6th, and that 8th, 10th time frame, I'm not going any further than that. There's good amplification in the access MJO plot in regards to the members, as well as the European extended, and I will say to a large degree the GFS ensemble, the Jeff's MJO plots, as well as the bias corrections are looking good in regards to the mean propagation and their members, the amplification, how that translates over into the teleconnections with. I'll use the European extended. With the European extended MJO plot and its propagation and the amplification of its members that's being shown, and then looking at the European extended teleconnections, the teleconnections are lining up with the MJO plot, and that's in my opinion that's crucial, because that tells us that we're going to, and I think to a large degree that the European extended upper air pattern is starting to reflect what the teleconnections are showing and what the MJO is showing. So that's hashing itself out nicely. So that's positive. And the fact that the European extended is lining up, MJO plot is lining up with the Australian Access S2 MJO plot moving forward here, the next, I'll say beyond December, beyond the 3rd, I would say from Friday this weekend on, looks really good, looks really promising. We'll have I'm going to try to put a PowerPoint together and put it on the page, and we'll definitely be posting some upper air guidance in regards to the 500 millibar and the 850 temps and some of the upper air winds, and probably some vorticity modeling in regards to just to show the energy, where the placement of the energy, especially for this late weekend potential. So stay tuned. I believe that, like I said in my post, things have slowed down a little bit, and I think that's because, in comparison to what I was thinking for the November 23rd, 24th, and then this 28th, 29th of November time frame, storm signal and potential, in regards to what the upper air models were showing, how those storms would and those signals would materialize. They did to some degree, but not as intense as what had been showing. And the reason that happened, they didn't verify to the intensity that guidance had been showing, is because we did not have things lined up upstream to justify what upper air guidance was showing. We're getting to that point where things upstream are starting to line up to the point where we start seeing strong ridging in the west, troughs in the east, and we start seeing storm signals showing on the upper air guidance, and then down to the surface, because most of you know Cody and I always top to bottom upper air to the surface. If a storm signal is showing on the surface, if a storm is showing on the surface guidance and you're seeing snow, that doesn't mean anything. It could show that all day. If there's no support on the upper air modeling, don't worry about it. It's not there. You look across all the different models, the European, the GFS, the Canadian, the UK Met, the JMA. You look for the upper air verification to support what's showing on the surface. So there's been some verification. There's been some support there in the upper air and at the surface, and as well as with the teleconnections in the MJO, to back up this December 5th, 6th time frame, and to back up the December 8th to 10th time frame storm signals. So stay tuned. I know this is a little long-winded, 11 minutes or so. So stay tuned, and we will try to get you as much information moving forward as we can. First on this 5th, 6th time frame, and then as we progress through the 8th, 10th time frame.